What if there was a Pokemon region based on the island of Crete in Greece? Well, we can see what that might look like with the Kianos region. Hey everyone, Brandon here. Welcome back to another region review where we review different regions around the Fakemon community. Today we are going to be reviewing the Kianos region by my good friend Malmistex over on Instagram. This is Malmis's first Fakemon region and we will be reviewing his second one later this month. As I said in the intro, this region is based on the island of Crete in Greece. And I can hear what you're saying, Brandon, didn't you already do a Greece region review? Yeah, but this is an island in Greece and it's a different artist and it's, you know what, just get off my case, okay? I actually haven't seen too much of both Malmis's regions, especially the first one, because I've been trying to save it for, this video. Anyway, let's hop into this region, and our grass starter is Polytad. I'll be completely honest in that there's a lot of redundancies here. For one, it sounds like it's a member of the Poliwag family. I mean, Polytad, Poliwag, sounds kind of similar. Also, it's a grass frog starter, and we already have Bulbasaur. As far as design, I do really like it. I like how the head shape kind of makes an apple with a little leaf coming out of it. And then the legs look like little music notes, almost like eighth notes. The proportions are very in line with the modern starters, have a head that's almost as big as its body. For our fire starter, we have Sapphire. This thing is freaking adorable. I think it's so cute. I really like we have a Fire Ox Pokemon. This is clearly in line with the Fire Zodiac, even though that is no longer a thing. Just for all those people that are going to get mad at me about the Fire Zodiac in the comments, I know they're coming, so I love Sapphire. I think this thing's super cute. I can't wait to see how it evolves. For our water starter, we have Bublinks, and this is so interesting. It is a Lynx water type. I think this is super fun and unique because usually starters are some kind of semi-aquatic animal, whether that be a mammal, amphibian, or reptile. I love the vibes it gives off. It's giving me that same kind of cuteness factor that Fennekin did. It also looks like Red from Animal Crossing, which just makes me like it more. As far as base stages, I'm in between Bublinks and Sapphire for which one I would pick. Polytad evolves into Frog. I actually really like this evolution. It is a big departure from the Bulbasaur line, which I like. It looks like he's slowly becoming some kind of maestro. Maybe he'll be grass normal type. Next up, we have Brassox, and it's a fire steel type. Yo, that's sick. He's still kind of cute, but has like that serious energy to him, which I really enjoy. I'm thinking we're going to get a Minotaur Pokemon here, and I love Minotaur Pokemon. I just think that's such a fun concept, and I would love to see it explored in the actual games. It's got this Gladiator armor, which explains its steel type, but I like the idea of Minotaur plus Gladiator. That's really fun and unique. Bublinks evolves into Posse, and it looks like it's getting some kind of like idol elements to it, almost like it's going to be some kind of like, I don't know, Japanese idol Pokemon, maybe? I don't know. I really like the color combinations in this one because it has like pinks and blues and whites and purples, and they all meld together really well. Poliwag evolves into Piperog, and it is pure grass type, no grass normal. Normal is typically associated with sound-based moves, so I figured grass normal, but pure grass also makes sense, I suppose. I could definitely see this thing learning Grass Whistle. I like the design. It almost feels like a dark type to me, the way it's like scowling at me. I feel like it could be grass dark, maybe. I don't know. Brassox evolves into Hephaestus. I really like the Greek god inspiration, Hephaestus, god of fire and like smithing. The fire steel type makes a lot of sense for this. I will say I don't like the face. The face doesn't feel like a cow to me. It feels very humanoid, just like almost too humanoid. Like it almost looks like it doesn't have a nose because of the way that the nose is drawn along with the lines on its nose. You know what I'm saying? I guess what I'm saying is I wish that the nose was a little bit more protruded to make it feel more like a cow. The rest of the design I love, though. I really like the armored appearance mixing in with that Minotaur aspect like I was expecting it to. Posse evolves into Nequeen, a water psychic type, and it's definitely got that kind of pop idol aesthetic that I was thinking it would. I will say I really like this design, but it feels like a huge departure from Posse. Like the only real similarity I see design wise is the little dress it has is kind of similar to the tail that Posse had. If you had told me this Pokemon was a part of a separate evolution line, I probably would have believed you. Despite that, I would still pick this as my starter because I think it has the coolest evolution line of the three. Even though it doesn't quite make the most sense, I still like it a lot. First up, we've got our Route 1 rodent, and it is Plumbit, the mascot Pokemon. This is one of the few mons I have seen from Malmis, and I know how it evolves, and I'm pretty sure it's based on Tanuki Mario. It's definitely adorable. It kind of looks like Winnie the Pooh to me, which just makes it even cuter. Plumbit evolves into Plumpster, and yep, full-on Mario, full-on Tanuki, all incorporated into one design. This thing is freaking adorable. I can't even lie. Next up, we have our Route 1 bird, which is Hoopak, and this is a dapper little guy. I love its little bow tie and like kind of like the staff tail. Is that supposed to be like a musical staff as its tail? I seriously just love how dapper this thing is, and I cannot wait to see how it evolves. Hoopop! I love that. Oh my goodness gracious. I can't stop laughing. This thing had brought such a reaction out of me. It went from this like nerdy little dapper kid to this pop punk bird. It kind of reminds me of a roadrunner in terms of appearance, with this kind of like spikier hair and like the more ground-based look to it. It looks like Hoopop has another stage to it, Hoopesan or Hoopasan. I don't know how to pronounce it. It looks like it grew out of its punk phase though, so now it's just like this mature adult orchestral musician kind of vibe going on. As far as theming, this is what I feel like a Chatot evolution might be like. Next up we have Striper, which looks like some kind of electric cat Pokemon, maybe a tiger of some kind or like a leopard, I'm not sure, but I really like the coloration. The blue really pops against the black and yellow. I like its electric-y, static-y lightning bolt tail. It kind of reminds me of Gigantamax Pikachu in that way. Striper evolves into Dandelight. It's like a dandelion. Is it like a dandy liger? Like it's like a tiger mixed with a lion mixed with a dandelion mixed with lightning bolts, and there's a lot of concepts going on here. This is definitely a unique take on a dandelion, like dandelion. I've seen dandelion Pokemons where it's like a grass type and the main is this, you know, kind of the same vibe, but I've never seen it used as an electric type, so that's definitely interesting. I might throw it on the team, but we'll have to see what else is available for us. Next up we have Spitefawn, and this dude is walking like haters gonna hate, bro. It just looks like it doesn't have a care in the world, and I just love that. I like the dark typing. It's called the Crete Pokemon. I'm not sure what is the Crete like a mythological creature? I'm not sure. I just figured it was based on fawns given its name. Spitefawn evolves into Venomalis. Oh my goodness. The name, I would have thought it would be a poison type, but I like the dark fire type, and this design is really cool. This is the first one I can say 100% I would want this on my team. I mean, I have the water starter. Now we need some fire coverage. Next up, we have Tortoise, and this thing is so cute. Oh my goodness. He's just a little nerdy boy with a nightcap. Oh my gosh. I don't feel like I've seen a lot of ice type tortoise Pokemon, so this is pretty unique to me. Tortoise evolves into Skisicle, and my goodness, this thing is adorable. I love its specs and then the mountain on its back, and then it looks like it all comes together to be like a bobsled, which these combinations of concepts come together in a really fun and unique way. I'm tempted to put this on the team. I know ice types are particularly weak, but honestly, this is such a cool concept. Next up, we have Petalong, which I'm assuming is supposed to be the regional bug. It's a dragon-like Pokemon, so that's why it doesn't have the bug dragon type, but maybe it will evolve to have the bug dragon type. I love how this is based on those insects that make themselves look like tougher things than they are, like caterpillars and moths often do. Petalong evolves into Bubbitern, which is the cocoon form, and it looks like a paper lantern, which I think is a really fun take on a cocoon form, especially given the dragon inspiration of its previous stage. This line so far is giving off a very Chinese feeling to it, which some people would probably complain about given the fact that this is a Greece-based region. We're putting Chinese style things in here, but you know, Pokemon's pretty free like that. There's lots of things in Pokemon that don't make sense for the region they're in, like Sock and Throw being based on Oni, yet being in an American region, or having a giraffe in a Japan-based region, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't until Alola that we saw a dex that was mostly made up of things that the region was inspired by. Bubbitern evolves into Shengong, and yes, we have our first bug dragon type Pokemon. I really like this. I think it's interesting. It kind of gives me the same vibes as Flygon. The long serpentine body of a dragon mixing with kind of like a long serpentine body of like some kind of centipede or millipede. Next up, we have our first regional form, and that is Keonosian Ditto. If you guys have watched this channel for a while, you'll know I'm not a really big fan of Ditto variants. I just think the concept's kind of useless. I mean, the entire point of Ditto is that it can transform into any Pokemon. So why would it have any reason to adapt to another region given the fact that it can transform into anything? This variant is no exception to that opinion, but I will say the design is very cool. I kind of like the digitized Pikachu look it has going on. Next up, we have Geomoth and Instant Cop. This thing is on the team. A rock flying type. It's not even a bug, which I love. Rock flying types are a great type combination, and the design itself is so cool. Next up is Fruitino. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It looks like it might be some kind of dragon fruit, but it also kind of has like these tendrily hairs, so maybe it's going to be like a Medusa Pokemon. It evolves into Urivine, and the hair is growing out. I think we might be heading in a Medusa direction. I like the pink and the green against each other. That's a very, very satisfying color combination. Yep, we've got a grass psychic Viperusa. I really like that. That's super unique. Most Medusa Pokemon are just like some kind of pure poison type or poison dragon type, but this is a grass psychic type that evolves from like a plant. That's just a very Pokemon thing to do, subverting your expectations about what a certain kind of concept will be executed as. Next up, we have Hospray, which I think is Hostile plus Osprey, which is a great name. I will say it looks very similar to Hoot Hoot, just like really similar design wise to the point where I can't overlook it. It looks like the Hospray line is a male only evolution, where the Viperusa line was a female only evolution, so we're kind of getting a match here. Osprey evolves into Barbite, which I think might be based on peregrine falcons and Mongols. I'm pretty sure that's what this is supposed to be based on, because Mongolia is the birthplace of falcon training, at least to my knowledge, which is actually a really interesting combination of concepts. We have our second regional variant, and it is Keonosian Skitty, and it is a pure steel type, which I really like. I really like the subtle changes that are made here, making things a little bit more spiky, giving it kind of a sheen to it so it looks more metallic. Regional variants tend to have the slightest changes that make the biggest differences. Next is a regional Delcatty, and I couldn't have asked for a more perfect evolution. I think it's still got the subtlety of the changes while still being kind of a unique design. Next up, we have Esquelf. It is the warrior elf Pokemon, and it looks like it has a lucky form and then a pawn form. I'm not quite sure what to think of this. It looks like maybe it might be based on leprechauns of some kind. I mean, just the like lucky form alone, but I'm not sure what the pawn form is supposed to be based on. Maybe they're based on two different kinds of like pixies or sprites. It looks like the lucky form evolves into a Apolelf, which is based on the god Apollo, and it is a fairy psychic type. Apollo, while being a god of the sun, is also a god of music, so this makes very much sense. Also, I'm pretty sure there's like a lot of things about Apollo's harp. I'm not sure if like Apollo has a harp. I've just heard Apollo's harp before. Design wise, I think this is really cool. Like the cape turning into the harp that it's playing is really interesting. It looks like the pawn form evolves into Artemelf, which is a fairy dark type, and this concept is golden. Apollo is the god of the sun and music, and Artemis is the goddess of the moon and the hunt, and they're twins. So it would make sense for them to come from the same Pokemon and evolve in different branching ways. And the use of the kind of cape for both of these Pokemon, where one is a harp and the other is a bow and arrow, is just beautiful. Some insanely clever work here. This has got to be one of my favorite lines of the video so far. Next up, we have Baybeef, which is a normal fairy type, and it's got a little belly button. I hope that belly button doesn't turn into a bunch of weird Miltank udders. I guess we'll see. Milk Cow. It's called the pink milk Pokemon. I will say this is just a very redundant concept when it comes to Miltank. Miltank is already a pink cow Pokemon with really weird nipples that make me uncomfortable. Next up, we have Tatchweb, which is like a spider mixed with a tennis racket. Now that I think about it, that's actually kind of clever because spiders weave a web, and then this one weaves a tennis racket that it can bounce things with, maybe? I don't know. In its Dex entry, it says it just uses it for traps, but I don't know. The body shape looks like a freaking tennis racket to me. Okay, it was totally intentional. We have Sticko, the bug grass type racket Pokemon. And instead of a racket, it looks like it uses these like mushrooms as kind of ping pong paddles. It definitely looks like it's about to get into an intense ping pong match. Maybe it can use Energy Ball and use that as like a ping pong ball. That would be kind of fun. Next up, we have Grubbard, which is a poison flying type. I am always a huge advocate for another poison flying type. Zubat is the only one we have. We can make more poison flying types, people. It looks like it might be a reference to oil spills and how the birds get the oil on them, and it makes like pretty much impossible for them to fly. Definitely sad in reality, but it makes for a cool Pokemon. So, I mean, there's that. Grubbard evolves into Weepunk. Whoa, this thing is wild. It definitely looks like a punk, that's for certain. I don't know if I'm a fan of the proportions. The body feels a little too thick to me, but it definitely looks like a poison flying type. I could even see a dark poison type, honestly. Next up, we have Bad Mice, which is supposed to be a mixture of badger plus mouse. It just reads Bad Mice, which not my favorite name in the world, unless there's some kind of clever pun I'm missing out on. As far as design, it's an adorable little badger Pokemon, and I think this thing is super cute. It almost has like a sloth vibe to it with the way that its hands are hooked. It evolves into Jabadger, which like, is that supposed to be like jab plus badger? Continues to feel like a mix between a sloth and a badger, which is really interesting. This is also a very Pokemon thing to do, with making two animals come together that seemingly don't have any relationship and then making it into this brand new creature. It reminds me of Appa from Avatar: The Last Airbender, which kind of makes me like it more. Next up, we have Crabbit. This dude's intense. Guy Fieri who? Oh my gosh. While being super adorable, Crabbit also has this hot rod energy to it, which is super unique to put on a crab Pokemon, so I love that. Oh my goodness, we have Craboom. I love that name. I love that concept. This dude looks like he's about to sell me some insurance, the general up in here. For a great low rate you can get online, go to Craboom to save some time. I just love how one of its pincers is a straight up cannon. That's just great. Next up, we have Arctumbo, and this thing is a pure fairy type, but it looks like it's about to be a mind flayer of some kind. Holy crap. Yep, I called it. It's a fairy dark type mind flayer vampire Pokemon. It's based on a vampire squid. It's a vampire squid, but also throws in a little bit of mind flayer energy into that. That is so good. Next up, we have Gladart. Just a little dart fish Pokemon. I don't have much to say about it. I think it's cute. Gladart evolves into Swoodlash. Now that's something to remark on. Holy good God, that thing is elegant. Wow. The way he's curved these lines around each other, making it look like his elegant rapier. And oh my gosh, that's so cool. Such a different take on a swordfish Pokemon, and I just love that. It also looks like it could learn some fairy type moves, which I always love when a design can evoke a different typing, even though it has 2 typings already. Next we have... Oh my God. Next we have Kianosian Smoochum, which is a water fairy type. There are no words. The design speaks for itself. I mean, it's a mermaid Smoochum. You get it. And now for Kianosian Jinx, also a water fairy type. This concept is great. This is just such fun. Honestly, it's just a fun little concept, and it's completely goofy in the best possible way. Next up, we have Wobblizer, which is a ice water type whale that is a mountain as well. This thing is sick. I will say, I thought this was a Wailord variant at first, and it very much kind of feels that way to me. It could even be an evolution to Wailord, like a regional evolution. Overall, the design is super cool. Pun intended. Next up, we have Trovok. It's like a living Thunderstone, which is super cool. Like, I like the idea of like Pokemon possessing items in the Pokemon world, or the reverse where items are based on a Pokemon. I could definitely see this concept going to the other stones like Firestone, Waterstone, Sunstone, Moonstone, getting fire type, water type, maybe psychic type and normal type, or dark type, I guess. This concept is very malleable, and I really like that. Trovok evolves into Trovolt, and it looks like it's evolving into some kind of deer Pokemon of some kind, or like a gazelle, like a lightning fast rock gazelle Pokemon. Fakemon do this more so than Pokemon do, but I like it when there's like a thing that starts off as like a complete elemental, like a rock or fire or something like that, and then slowly evolves into more an animalistic side. So this design really works for me. Trovolt evolves into Gazelic, and I was exactly right. It's a rock electric gazelle Pokemon, and that is fantastic. The electricity within the Pokemon is starting to manifest outside of it into these horns and this like little side, I don't know what to call it, pattern. I've seen electric type gazelle Pokemon done before, but never like this. This is super different, super unique, and I really, really like it a lot. I would definitely add this to my team. A rock electric type is such a fun type combo, and this is such a fun design. Next up, we have Warkid, and I feel like I know where this is going. I feel like we're getting a Hercules-based Pokemon here. Warkid evolves into Warmy, and this is cool. I like the like headband and the little toga we got going on here. The way he handled like the pectoral muscle being like this swirly kind of Grecian feeling to it, I really like. If it evolves further, I feel like it's going to be a fighting flying type just because of the kind of wings we have going on the head. You know, Pokemon have wings on their heads like Gallade and Gardevoir, but they're not flying type. But I don't know. I feel like it's going in that direction. Next up, we have Hercules, and it is holding a Fruthino or a Fruithino. I still haven't figured out how that's pronounced, but it's supposed to look like the head of Medusa. That's just such a fun little reference. I love that so much. I think more so than Hercules, this is supposed to be based on just a bunch of different Greek heroes. I'm pretty sure it was Perseus who slayed Medusa, so there's that mix in here as well. I'm sure there's probably some kind of Odysseus reference in here as well. It looks like it has lightning bolts along its fists, so maybe it's also supposed to be a reference to Zeus. I just caught the connection. Perseus and Hercules are both sons of Zeus, so it's a mixture of the sons of Zeus. That's clever. That is so clever. Good job, Malmus. Wow, that really that makes me happy. I don't know. I really like Greek mythology and mythology in general, so that just kind of like tickles me. Next up, we have Kiranosian Ralt, which is a dark flying type. And is this going to be based on harpies? A harpy Ralts? I mean, you can kind of see like it has like a beak-like structure instead of like the typical thing. That's really clever. I can't wait to see how this thing evolves. Yep, we've got a Harpy Curlia. Got the little bird eye going on. That thing's creepy. This could even be like a convergent mon. This was before convergent mon were introduced, but this could be a convergent mon. Like the way it looks, it just like it has those like bird-like eyes, which is completely different from Curlia's inspiration. So yeah, this could be repurposed. Definitely repurposed as a convergent mon. We have a dark flying Gardevoir, and oh my goodness, this thing is epic. This thing looks like it's about to freaking tear my eyes out, bro. I love it. It's terrifying, but in a really cool way. I'm very curious if there's a Gallade equivalent. Looks like that's a no, but we have Saipo, which is the Zen Hippo Pokemon. This thing is super cute, but very much reminds me of Slowpoke. Just the way the face looks and the coloration, and it all is screaming Slowpoke to me. Almost as if this was like a pre-evolution to Slowpoke. Saipo evolves into Hippo Bomo, and oh my goodness. What is happening to this thing's legs? Because that is not physically possible. Like this thing's legs are contorting in a way that is not natural. Like the fact that they're facing up in like a prayer situation is like cool because it's supposed to reference the psychic typing, but also it should be like this. I just smacked my mic and my webcam. It's supposed to be like this, so that way it, they face out, because no one can put their legs like this. I mean, at least I can't. That would hurt a lot. I am absolutely not trying to roast this design. I think the concept itself is really cool. Like a hippo, like a psychic hippo is a really cool idea. I just think that there's certain aspects that really creep me out about it. Next up, we have Kianosian Flabebe, which is a poison type. I really like how it has the little laurel here. That's a nice touch. It looks like it has the ability to turn flowers into stone, which is interesting. Are we getting a secondary Medusa reference here? Looks like we are. We're getting a poison type Floette, which turned its... I think the idea is really cool that it like turns its flowers to stone and then holds the stone flowers, but we're moving into a bit of a redundancy in the region itself, because we just already had a Medusa Pokemon. Unless that wasn't a Medusa Pokemon, maybe that was just like no, wait, there's another kind of, it was a Gorgon, just a Gorgon in general. I mean, Medusa is a Gorgon, but some Gorgons don't have any legs, and instead they have a half snake body, but some Gorgons have legs and they just have them, like, I think Medusa just has, snake hair. I'm not certain on that, but either way, you have like a snake Medusa mon, two snake Medusa mons going on here. I mean, I see how it was hard to choose, because so far these lines have been really cool and different, both of them, so it must have been hard to kind of choose between them, so maybe just pick both. Anyway, here is Florges, the Snake Garden Pokemon. I can definitely see it. Both these concepts are really solid and really strong. I probably wouldn't have been able to pick between them myself. Next up, we have Moros. This thing is so interesting and completely different. Like, it's just a completely different Pokemon. You're a ghost type. It just looks like it's just a ghost. I love Pokemon where you just can't tell 100% what the inspiration is. I mean, it kind of has a Cyclops thing going on there, but it's just a completely different creature altogether. So an interesting little detail about this Pokemon is that it is actually in collaboration with another Greece-based region, the Helenos region, which is now the Mestiços region on Instagram, but it evolves differently depending on the region it's in. So let me know if you would like me to review the Helenos region, and I will check it out and we can see what the Moros evolves into in this region. But in the Kianos region, it evolves into Dabros. This thing is so eerie. It has like a Lunatone eclipsing a Solrock on its shield, which is such a nice little design detail. It's giving me Gengar vibes without being deliberately Gengar. It also has that like Cyclops inspiration in there because the head only has one eye, but there's like two heads. I guess two heads are better than one in this case. I don't really comment on abilities, but I love its ability name. Its ability name is Existential Dread, and it turns all ghost type moves into ghost and dark type moves. So this dude has stab out the wazoo. Next up, we have Scorpunt, a grass poison type. This thing could 100% be a convergent species for Skorupi. I mean, the design and the proportions are so similar. It looks like it evolves into Succupion. Yeah, I can't do it. I don't know. I will say I'm a sucker for a Pokemon that has one big claw and one little claw. I mean, Kingler, Klotzer, I love those designs. Next up, we have Rollnut. That's just a fun name to say, Rollnut. It's a grass ground type, and it kind of looks like Cherubi without the like little, second head that it has. It kind of reminds me of like a Mario enemy of some kind. Rollnut evolves into Palm Trio. Dude, I love when Pokemon just become a Pokemon with more heads. It's just such a Pokemon thing, it's just, like when you think of Pokemon, you think of a Pokemon that evolves from one head to like multiple heads. Palm Trio is adorable. It keeps the adorableness of Rollnut, which I appreciate, and it just adds a new little spin with some more heads. Next up, we have Kitsix, the Sand Fox Pokemon. I love that. I love that. Is it supposed to be like kind of like a fennec fox? Because I love that. It's just so cute. I want to cuddle it. I don't know if I should. It's a ground type. Maybe it'll earthquake me. I don't know. Kit 6 evolves into Kit Sand, and it's holding a bone. It looks like it's like, give me Cubone, Marowak energy to it. Ground type holding a bone. That is kind of the same as Marowak and Cubone, but I will overlook it because this design is freaking adorable. Its proportions almost give me like Blaziken in a way, because it has those like feet that like don't like that are covered by like this fur. It almost feels like to me it could be a ground fighting type, honestly. I think I might put this on the team. I think this might be like an alternating thing, like I would put it in the team every once in a while and then maybe put it back in the box for another Pokemon. Looks like we have some Keonosian fossils with the old beak and the giant bone, so let's see how these things resurrect. We have Plumafin, which is a flying dragon type, not rock dragon or rock flying or flying rock. That's I'm not sure. Maybe it's similar to what I did in my region where the the Pokemon can be resurrected without having the type. I mean, mine was specific to my gimmick, but I'm not sure how they explained it here. I'm not seeing anything in the description that implies that there's something special about Plumafin, so I'm not certain. Design-wise, it's a freaking griffin. I love griffins, and it's like fused with a dinosaur, like dinosaur griffin. It looks like it's mixed with some kind of like pterosaur or something like that, and I love that. That's super interesting, very different. Next up, we have Cornosaur, which is a rock dragon type. Okay, so what? Yeah, so why not rock on the last one in any capacity? I'm a little confused here. Cornosaur is adorable. Also, I like the shields on its body and the like little dragony thing it has going on there. The concept is a dragon mixed with a dinosaur. I think that's the theming we have going on with these two fossils. This one is like a Ceratopsian mixed with a dragon, which I think is really cool. I love the idea that like the ancient fossils were dragons, but like they're like mixed with dinosaurs. So like dinosaurs were ancient dragons. I think that's so fun. Next up, we have Honutops, and yep, they're definitely Ceratopsian, and this thing is a bunker, bro. This dude is the dragon and the castle it's guarding at the same time, and I love that. Apparently, this thing is massive and is as big as a castle, which, you know me, I'm a sucker for giant Pokemon. Wailord, I've made a couple in my own region, Cornera. I just love big old Pokemon. Next up is Gigaman, which sounds like some kind of Sentai series. Go Sentai Gigaman or something. Definitely trying to emulate a Sasquatch of some kind. It's a fighting grass type, which I think is cool. It kind of shares similarities with Abomasnow as far as concept, where like it's like a tree mixed with a Sasquatch, but I'll overlook it because the design is so different and unique. I could definitely see myself encountering this in some kind of deeply forested area and just being terrified, like it's some kind of boss Pokemon just lumbering around. Get it? Lumbering because it's a grass type. Next up, we have Vinodon, which is a rock grass type. Oh, this is the resurrection from the giant bone. Was the wait, I am really confused. How many fossil Pokemon are there here? I'm a little confused. It says this is resurrected from the giant bone, but also Gigaman is, and it says the previous two lines are also revived from the giant beak. So I don't know how the logic of two separating DNA paths like being resurrected from the same fossil. As far as this design, it's a cute little grass type mammoth Pokemon. I mean, that's about all I have to say about it. It's cute. Next up, we have Mastodon, and that name is just perfection. Just perfection. The design, I definitely thought it was on 2 legs at first, but it looks like it's actually on 4 legs, which makes this a little bit more interesting to me. I thought this was going to kind of feel like Gigantamax Copperaja or something like that. I'm kind of seeing how the DNA branching is kind of working here, because Gigaman kind of looked like a tree, and this kind of looks like a tree. The previous 2 mons, had the dragon incorporation mixed with the dinosaur incorporation. It's an interesting concept having 2 fossils come from the same bone. I just don't know if there's a lot of logic behind it, but I mean, it's Pokemon, so what logic really is there? A fish evolves into an octopus, for God's sake. Next up, we have Keonosian Mawile, and it is a dragon fire type. I was saying earlier how Kitsand reminds me of Blaziken, but this design definitely reminds me of Blaziken. I like the simple shift of turning the mouth on Mawile's head into more of a draconic looking face, and then making its hair look like little wings. That's really clever. Next up, we have Keonosian Sableye, which is a ghost electric type. And actually, I have seen this design before. In like the baby stages of the Cornera region, I was looking for other regional variants because I was, there's a lot of regional variants in Cornera, and I was just kind of looking for ideas to help inspire me. And I found this design, and actually helped inspire the rock ghost Cornera and Sableye. All this to say, I really like this design. A ghost electric type Sableye is so cool, and taking the little subtle differences and getting these like electrically charged crystals, like staticky lightning bolt ears, and a lightning bolt symbol on its chest, and its eyes even look like little lightning stones. I was to say the thunderstone doesn't look like that, but you know, it still looks cool. Next up we have Donka, which is thank you in German, I think. But it's a normal ice type, which is a new type combination. We still don't even have that in Gen 9, actually. It's a cute little llama or alpaca Pokemon, I'm not sure, but it looks like it's wearing some kind of Mesoamerican poncho of some kind. Kind of has that Mesoamerican pattern to it. This is a really great example of a normal ice type. You can get the normal from its coloration, but also the fact that it's wearing clothes, which is kind of like a normal person thing to do, as well as the ice type because the ice, you know, colorations, as well as it's kind of bundled up for the cold weather. Donga evolves into Donkappa, and it looks like it's actually a camel. I was wrong. It's a camel Pokemon. And the clothing looks like it's turned into these like little huts almost. This whole line is just adorable. It's just super cute. Next up, we have Goriole, which is a flying steel type. It's called the Angry Bird Pokemon, and I can't unsee like Angry Birds in my head right now. I'm a little worried because this looks like it could lean into a Harpy direction, and we already had a Harpy with Gardevoir. Goriole evolves into Tengal or Tengal. I'm not 100% certain, but it's a flying steel type. I'm not sure. I think might be a different kind of bird mythological creature. I'm not sure if it's a Harpy because it doesn't look like it can fly at all, but it is like a half bird, half human kind of thing going on. Regardless, it's called the Ninja Pokemon, which is interesting. I'm not getting ninja from this, but it's still cool. It's still cool. Next up, we have Kianosian Duskull. That is a ghost ground type, and it's called the Requiem Pokemon. This is really fun. I like the slight difference it has. Like the little arms that it has like look like it's in a straitjacket now, and it has like the slight like skull divot, you know, the nose divot in a skull that's above its head, which, you know, just very slight differences that make all the difference with, you know, regional variants. I think this is going to go a mummy direction because in the little opening post of the Kianos region, it says that there's some Egyptian influences here as well. We have Kianosian Dusclops, and I'll be 100%. This is not a Dusclops. This doesn't look like a Dusclops. The proportions are completely different. I would have made this an entirely new Pokemon, to be honest. It just, like, the only things that are similar are the little thing on its head and then the eyeball. But, like, the proportions are completely different, and that's usually what, you know, is called for when it's a regional evolution. Spoilers for Scarlet and Violet if you haven't seen this yet, but Wooper evolves into Clodsire, and that the proportions are different, but the general vibe feels like a Quagsire. It has that same kind of thing going on here. Aside from that, it is going that mummy direction I thought it was. I think this is really interesting and a really cool take on a regional evolution, or it's not regional evolution, but a regional version of this line. It looks like it evolves into Darkophagus, which is crazy. The Aegis on the end of it makes it sound like a Cofagrigus evolution of some kind. I was just reading the description, and this is actually pretty interesting. I said that it's like, seems like a Cofagrigus evolution. It is kinda. So to get this evolution, you have to trade Kianosian Dusclops with a Cofagrigus to get this evolution. So it's got a kind of Shelmet and Carablast kind of thing going on. It kind of feels like Dusclops evolved into the body that would be inside the coffin that is Cofagrigus, which is super creepy. Next up is Galaxic or Hilaxic. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be pronounced like Gila Monster or it's supposed to be Gil. I'm not 100% certain. I like this. It feels like a little Gila Monster volcano, which is really cool. It evolves into Como Drake, which feels entirely like a shift in concept. What? It evolves from Galaxic when exposed to a Firestone. Sorry, I just like, it went from a fire poison type to a rock poison type, but it was evolved with a Firestone. It just doesn't add up to me. Like a Gila monster evolving into a Komodo dragon, really cool. The typing though doesn't really make sense. The concept I'm not following. Okay, never mind. I'm reading the description. I'm wrong. I'll admit when I'm wrong. The armor that it has on its body is hardened magmic rock, so it becomes a rock poison type and like kind of loses its magma-ness, and like it's cooled magma or lava, whatever that's called. Anyway, I still think it shouldn't evolve via Firestone. If anything, I feel like it should evolve via Waterstone. I think that would be more interesting, as like, you know, the water cooled off its armor and like turned it into like obsidian almost. I might just be using Minecraft logic here. I'm pretty sure that water and magma make obsidian, like magmic glass. Am I wrong? I might be wrong. Minecraft has ruined me. Next up, we have Propellix, steel bug type, and it just looks like it's a little fly, like a robot fly, which you know, kind of emulates those robot flies that like spies use in movies to like be the fly on the wall. Apparently it is one of the smallest beings alive, which, you know, flies are. It evolves into Sputnik. I love that name. That's great. The design is a little much for me. It's just a lot going on there. It doesn't really look like a satellite, which is supposed to be based on Sputnik. It kind of feels like an old satellite, maybe? I don't know. I like how the head design does kind of look like Kamen Rider, so I appreciate that aspect of it. Next up, we have Kianosian Chatot, which is a fairy flying type, and it looks like it's got the freaking treble clef on its head. I like how it has this like collar, very like orchestral dressing collar, like very fancy. Oh, actually, I'm seeing, oh my gosh. This is kind of like a Marie Antoinette kind of vibe, just that French white face, like the dolled up face with the big hair and the big poofy collar. That's really fun. I like that. Incorporated with the treble clef, that's really clever. That's clever. It looks like Chatot evolves into Chatakit, like etiquette plus Chatot. I think that's really fun. Apparently, the simple flap of its wings will enchant any creature. This is really cool. It's very Marie Antoinette. I think that's really fun. Next up, we have Kianosian Apom, and it's a fighting type, and it's got a big old chubby cheeks. That's the first thing my eyes went to, is the big old chubby cheeks. It also looks like it has like kind of like a punching glove for a tail, which, you know, makes sense for the fighting type. Were its teeth always kind of like jagged like that, or was that an addition? Because if that's an addition, that's a really nice touch. Hello, Kianosian Apom evolves into Amberin. I wasn't expecting that. I feel like this is the design people were hoping for when they saw Ambipom, like a more traditional like monkey. This is supposed to be based on, is it supposed to be based on a tamarin? I don't know if it seems more like a what's the word, a baboon to me. As far as design, I think this is an improvement on Ambipom in many ways, and I actually really enjoy it. Next we have Surflint, which that name is great. It's an electric rock type surfing penguin Pokemon. Surf's Up who? For the record, I love Surf's Up. One of the better movies with penguins in it. Come at me, Happy Feet. I love the surfer aesthetic this thing has going on. It's doing the hang loose. It just gives me good vibes. Next up, we have Spelldrawn, which is a poison psychic, or psychic poison type, excuse me. It's a little potion. That's so cool. I really like like a little potion Pokemon. That's such a fun concept. Its ability is Power of Alchemy, which makes complete sense. It evolves into Magedron, which is like Cauldron plus Mage, into a Ghost poison type. We lost the psychic typing, and now it's a ghost, and I can see why. This thing is creepy. It looks like it evolves when traded for a Sinistea. Maybe there's going to be a Kianosian Sinistea. So this also has a Shelmet and Carablast thing going on. Yep, we have Kianosian Sinistea. Oh my gosh, I love this. Ghost poison type. It's a little like Grecian urn. That's such a fun, oh my gosh, I really like this concept. Taking the pattern of Sinistea's face and making it all Grecian and like curly like that, like with the, you know, straight line. Very Grecian, very cool as well. Making it based on wine, I mean, it's Pokemon, so they're probably not going to do that, but regardless, it's a really cool concept. It evolves into Genuine. Like genuine. That's great. Oh my gosh. So when Sinistea and Spelldrawn evolve, they trade types. Genuine becomes a ghost psychic type, and Magedron becomes a ghost poison type. That is a very interesting and unique concept for sure. I like how it looks like an old man with its cane. I just looked at the dex entry, and apparently it just acts like an old man all the time, which is really funny. Next up, we have Cubbliss, which is a pure ice type sea puppy Pokemon. What's a sea puppy? Is that supposed to be like a sea lion? What? Is there an animal that exists that I don't know about? Regardless, it's cute. It's giving me Corgi energy, which I absolutely adore. It evolves into Celadon. Dear God. It looks like it's a seal plus Poseidon. It's a ice electric type, which is a dope type combination. It just went full on bearded Poseidon, Greek god elements going on in there. It's mixing in some Zeus elements in there too with that electric typing. I really like how this is still an ice type seal Pokemon, but it manages to be so different from seal and Spheal. Next up, we have Woolmetric, which is an electric type Lamb Pokemon. That's Mareep. It's Mareep. I've been pointing out a lot of redundancies in this, and I feel bad, but it's just like there are a lot in there. I mean, I'm sure once it evolves, it'll be different, but As a base, an electric sheep Pokemon is it's Mareep. That's the electric sheep Pokemon. Its proportions also look like Wooloo as well, so it's just kind of like a hodgepodge of redundancy. It evolves into Zephon. Okay, I was right. Once it evolves, it becomes completely different. It's an electric fighting type, which is a new type combination. Well, no, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's a freaking fawn Pokemon, which we already got a fawn earlier, but this one has like lightning bolt legs coming out of a thundercloud waist. It's so different and quirky in like the best way. Next up is Agamander, and it's a grass fire type pepper Pokemon mixed with a lizard, which is different. Spoilers for Scarlet and Violet, but we just got Capsicid and Scovillain, which is a grass fire type pepper Pokemon. But I'm not going to judge it for that because this existed before that did, and it's still a really cool design, and I like it a lot. I like the more lizardy aspects it has to it. It evolves into Agamento, and it's not helping its case that it's double-headed, and so is Scovillain. Do you think Game Freak saw this? I don't know. They're not supposed to check out Fakemon, but it's kind of feeling like they might have seen this and was like, oh yeah, we'll do that. It evolves into Agamolten, and now it's got 3 heads, which maybe in the future Scovillain will evolve and have 3 heads and be a Hydra Pokemon kind of like that. This is supposed to be a reference to Hydra as well, because this is a Grecian region, and it's a Hydra mixed with a pepper, which I think is a really, really fun concept. I imagine you could cut one of these things heads off and they would probably use it as some kind of spice for a dish or something. A little morbid, but it could probably grow it back because it's a Hydra Pokemon. Next up, we have Javanite, which is a fighting ground type. This thing is intense. Looks like it has like bones or something. Are those bones? What are those coming out of its back? Is it supposed to look like an erupting volcano? Because it kind of does, and I love that about it. Next up, we have the water dark type Crescella, and it's giving eyes. Look at those eyes, bro. They're huge, massive eyes. It's giving kind of like Celebi's eyes in a way. Is this supposed to be a mythical Pokemon? I think it's a little early for it to be a mythical Pokemon, but I think it might be based on a siren. It's a siren in a shell. If this is a mythical Pokemon like Jirachi or Celebi, I think this is really cool. As it stands on its own, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it's still like an okay design. Next up, we have Bacilli, the one-eye Pokemon. Ooh, this is a dragon type. Is it gonna be like Dragon Dark? It looks like it could be Dragon Dark. It's like a Cyclops, but its eye is inside its mouth. That's eerie, but I like it. It evolves into Basiclops. Yep, it is a Dragon Dark type. This thing is so creepy. I love it. I'm assuming this is supposed to be the pseudo legendary. And it's mixing like a Cyclops with the dragon of the most pseudo legendaries are dragons. I mean, every generation since like Gen 4, we've had a dragon type pseudo legendary. So Basiclops evolves into Keyclops. Yo, this thing is giving me Mechagodzilla. It's giving me like some kind of kaiju energy, and I love it. I really do. Definitely putting this on the team. I think I already had a dragon type on the team, but who cares? Move over. Freaking Keyclops is on the team. Next up, we have Kianosian Litwick, and it's a torch. I mean, it makes complete sense. The Olympics started in Greece, and this is like based on the Olympic torch that people pass along to light the big fire. I think that's great. I wonder if it'll evolve differently. We have Kianosian Lampent, and it looks like it's starting to slowly meld into the bigger fire that they put the torch on to start the Olympics. I like that it doesn't have like a little thing containing it anymore, that it's just like the eyes on the fire, very Calcifer vibes. It does evolve differently. It evolves into Flambalore, and I gotta say, I think this might be my favorite Pokemon of the video. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the posing, maybe it's the shading on it, but something about this is speaking to me. I really like the use of the pink flames rather than the traditional like orange or red flames. It almost feels like it could learn fairy type moves. Its ability is also levitate, so you're just completely taking out a quad weakness. This thing is 100% on the team. I'm kicking out any fire type I had before. I love this thing. I love how it has the little laurel hand pieces that come up in the pose of Chandelure. All around, this design is super solid. Like I said, probably my favorite of the video so far. Next up, we have Kelprite, which is a water fairy type. It's the Siren Pokemon, which is interesting. It doesn't really look like a typical Siren, but we'll see how it evolves, and maybe I'll be proven wrong. It evolves into Drakelp, so we're getting kind of a shark thing going on here. I'm still not seeing the siren aspect of it, but maybe it's trying to be something unique. Maybe it's called the Siren Pokemon because it uses its voice like a siren would. Maybe not necessarily being based around a siren. I don't know. Whenever I hear the word kelp, I can only think of that quote from SpongeBob where it's like, "Where's my diet, Dr. Kelp?" It evolves into Aqua King. Okay, I'll be honest with you, I thought we were gonna go like in maybe like a Kelpie direction. When I heard kelp, I thought maybe Kelpie, you know, because I'm pretty sure Kelpie lure their prey to the sea or something like that. Regardless of my expectations, this is still a pretty fun design. It's like a bipedal shark. Kind of looks like it's supposed to be like a mermaid, so maybe that's where the siren aspect comes in. I think I got too hung up on the siren thing. I was trying to guess at what it would be, and then I was wrong. Apparently, we shouldn't let its cute face fool us, and it is actually one of the most brutal Pokemon in the sea. I don't know, though. It's hard to imagine something this cute could be that mean, right? Right? Next up, we have Naxxrail, and this is a pure ice type, and it looks like it's based on like the Aurora Borealis mixed with a horse Pokemon. It's a legendary Pokemon. It's marked as a legendary Pokemon. That's good to know. So apparently that it was Crushella or whatever is not a legendary Pokemon. Design wise, it's really cool. I like how they incorporated the kind of Aurora theming to it. But one design detail I wish they had changed was the eye, and because it just makes it feel like Ponyta, like some kind of like alternate branch evolution of Ponyta. All around though, I think it's a really solid design. Looks like we have another legendary Pokemon, and that is Parosi, and it is the South Spirit Pokemon. Naxxrail was the North Spirit Pokemon, so it kind of makes sense because the North is like cold and you have the Aurora Borealis and all that. This is the South Spirit, where it's like kind of more warm. I shouldn't say south. Like south is also cold, but like middle of the roads. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the Kianos region, north is very cold and the south is very warm. That's just how the region is laid out. Regardless, I think this pairs really well with Naxxrail because you can kind of see how it has the same elements as Naxxrail, but more water inclined rather than ice inclined. The tail even looks like a little fountain or like hose spraying water out of it. I'm not sure if this is trying to reference Poseidon, but it has kind of like a little trident on its chest, which I like. It looks like we have another one. We have the Sky Spirit Pokemon, which is Delosky, and it is a Pegasus. So it looks like it might be a trio, actually. So we have the North, South, and Sky. So interesting. So we don't have East or West. We have North, South, and up. I mean, a pure flying Pegasus Pokemon is great. That's what I would expect if we ever were to get a Pegasus Pokemon, that it would be pure flying type. Maybe based around clouds. It looks like this kind of has some cloud-like structures to it. Very solid design and a very solid trio. Here are our trainers for the region. We have Gale and Hino. I like their designs. They're pretty simple, standard fare for Pokemon protagonists. I do like how they're blonde and ginger, though. That's a bit different. It looks like there's a gimmick in the Kianos region. It's called the Zombie Pokemon Phenomenon. It seems like it might be like Noble Pokemon or Titan Pokemon, kind of an equivalent to that, where the Pokemon faints and then it becomes even more powerful after it comes back to life. It has kind of like an electrical energy flowing through it, so maybe there's a Zeus reference in there? Or maybe it's a Hades reference, because, the underworld and all that. Next up, we have our rival Poppy, and I love her design. She's got this pink hair, the shirt's great. It kind of looks like Kianosi and Mawile themed, maybe? Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But overall, I really enjoy her design. She looks like she'll be a solid rival. Looks like we have our first gym leader. His name is Mario, and he is not a fighting type specialist. He is a rock type specialist who is a boxer. I think that's really cool. I like it when they kind of subvert our expectations at what type a trainer is going to be based on their design. And I love his team. Two very solid rock types from this region. Next up, we have Emily. Either way, she's a tennis player, and of course she uses the tennis Pokemon Sticko, and she also uses Propellix, which is great. I like how she's a tennis player that uses bug types. Kind of reminds me of Kahili, who's a golf player who uses flying types. Next up, we have Litto, which is just the most literal name I can ever think of. Literal. I just picked up on a theme here. They are all giving us medals, and they are all athletes. So I guess we're going for an Olympics theme here, and each one is going to be based on a different Olympic sport. Next up, we've got Olga, and she's going to give us the sailing badge. She's a fairy type, and she's a sailor. So not giving us the water type, but she also uses a Kianosi and Jinx, which is a water type. So kind of ties in there. Both of her Pokemon are actually aquatic themed, so that all works. Next up, we've got Amethyst, who is actually the mother of Poppy, who we met earlier, who is our rival. And she's a soccer player, and I really like her design. Her outfit very much reminds me of the outfits we'd wear in the gym challenge in Galar. Excuse me, Galar. Everybody gets on my case when I call it Galar. I like the little rocks in her hair to reference her name, Amethyst. And her team is pretty solid. Next up, we have Nikos, which is an electric type surfer. I didn't realize that surfing was an Olympic sport, but that's cool. Of course, he would have a surflint. I love that. That's great. I just love how he gives off good energy. Oh my gosh, good energy. Get it? Next up, we have Dragan or Dragon. His name is literally Dragon. He looks super tall because he's a basketball player, and a dragon type basketball player is a sick concept. I really like that. He also has 2 members on his team that I wanted to have on my team, so that's awesome. Next up, we have Mona, who is a steel type fencing specialist, which makes complete sense. And of course, she'd have a Swoodlash that, yeah, obviously, it's just obvious. And it looks like there's kind of like a DLC situation here. We have Galadon, which is the kind of legendary that symbolizes the Sea of Trident DLC. And this one definitely references Poseidon. I think that's what it's supposed to be. Next, we have Keonosian Growlithe, which is a pure rock type. This was before we got Hisuian Growlithe, so cut him some slack. It looks like it's made out of a marble statue, which is perfect given its inspiration of Foo Dogs. It looks like they like to guard the temples of Keonos, which is a great reference. Next up, we have Keonosian Arcanine, and this is certainly unique. It looks like it has little pieces of obsidian in its skin. It doesn't look 100% like Arcanine to me. I think it's the eyes that are putting me off. If it had more Arcanine's eyes, I wouldn't be as put off by it, but it's still a really cool design. And now we actually get Keonosian Gallade, which is a part of the DLC, and it's a dark ground type, and it references centaurs. Split evolution of a centaur and a harpy is so good. And instead of having these like blade-like arms, it has shield-like arms, which is a nice little subtle change. If you've seen the most popular video on my channel, then you know this Pokemon already. It is Regisky. I love this design. You all know I love this design. I included it in my Regi of every type video because of how much I love this design. The reason I love this design is because it doesn't exactly evoke a flying type typically, but it evokes the idea of looking up at a mountain into the sky and just everything feeling so vast. It's a unique take on a flying type, and that's why I included it in the video, is because I just love it so much. And then yet another one from a Regi of every type, we have Regiterra. This is another one that I love. It just looks like you cut out a brick of soil and then turn it into a Regi, and I just love that about it. And finally, we have Galadon, which is water steel type, and it is the final Pokemon of this dex. I think it's really cool. I like its frills. Its patterning is really cool. And obviously, like I said before, it pretty clearly references Poseidon. I wonder if there's any connection with Empoleon here, maybe. And that's it for the Keonos region. So thank you so much to Malmus for letting me review this region. And thank you guys so much for watching. And with that, I will see you guys next time.